Terrifying. This typhoon wiped out almost the whole city. Natural disaster, Typhoon Haiyan, 2013. Terrifying. Imagine a typhoon so devastating that it destroys an entire city. In 2013, Typhoon Haiyan devastated the Philippines. See how nature's raw power destroyed buildings, shattered lives, and wrought havoc in its wake. How did people in the city deal with the aftermath of such a terrible event? Let's find out. Super Typhoon Haiyan, also known as Typhoon Yolanda, devastated Palau, the Philippines, Vietnam, and China in early November 2013. The tropical cyclone brought powerful gusts, coastal storm surges, torrential rains, and flooding to the land. The central Philippines was devastated the worst by the typhoon, killing thousands. It was called the nation's worst natural calamity. Haiyan was one of the strongest tropical cyclones to hit land, with maximum sustained winds of 195 miles per hour. On November 2nd, an area of convection in the equatorial Pacific Ocean east-southeast of Pohnpei became a typhoon. Later that day, the Joint Typhoon Warning Center at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, renamed the disturbance Tropical Depression 31W. Over the next few days, the system strengthened and proceeded westward across the tropical Pacific Ocean. After its winds reached 40 miles per hour, the Japan Meteorological Agency categorized it as a tropical storm and named it Haiyan at midnight GMT on November 4th. Haiyan became a typhoon when its winds reached 75 miles per hour in the early afternoon of November 5th. At 2:45 p.m. GMT, which was 10:45 p.m. local time, on November 6th, the JTWC upgraded Haiyan to a super typhoon, equivalent to a powerful Category 4 or 5 hurricane, with maximum sustained 1-minute surface winds of at least 150 miles per hour. Haiyan was 113 nautical miles east-northeast of Palau and moving westward at 21 miles. Later in the day, the storm grew to over 500 miles with a 9-mile eye. The storm's eye wall moved over Palau's Ka-Angel Islands early on November 7th with gusts of up to 155 miles per hour. Throughout the day, Haiyan's winds increased to 195 miles per hour with gusts of 235 miles an hour. Haiyan hit Guian, Samar at 4:40 a.m. local time on November 8th. Haiyan had the highest wind speed ever recorded at landfall and the lowest air pressure at 895 millibars. Haiyan hit Tacloban, Leyte, around 8 a.m. local time with winds of 185 miles per hour. The storm crossed northern Leyte. By early afternoon November 8th, the eye was over northern Panay after reaching the northern tip of Cebu and Batayan Island. The maximum sustained winds had decreased to 165 miles per hour. The eye drifted west into the South China Sea by late evening, and its winds dropped below 145 miles per hour, reclassifying it as a typhoon. Haiyan struck again at Ha Long Bay at Guangning Province at 5 a.m. on November 10th. At landfall, the storm had decreased to less than 85 miles per hour. It weakened in China's Zhuang Autonomous Region of Guangxi. Palau suffered considerable property damage from Haiyan, but no deaths. Starting at Guian, its trip through the Philippines proved disastrous. The storm surge and violent winds caused widespread devastation and hundreds of deaths. As the hurricane hit Tacloban, 20-foot storm surges threw boats inland, toppled buildings, and washed debris and people out to sea. The city was largely destroyed and many were thought dead. Haiyan destroyed the central Philippines as it went west. Ormoc, Leyte, and Roxas, Panay were devastated. The storm also caused flooding and mudslides with torrential downpours of up to 11 inches. Vietnamese officials evacuated hundreds of thousands of people as Haiyan crossed the South China Sea. After crashing into northern Vietnam, Haiyan caused wind damage and heavy rainfall. However, Vietnam and China had 24 casualties, including pre-storm mortality. In the Philippines, rescue and relief efforts began quickly, but aid workers had trouble reaching the worst hit and isolated areas due to the destruction. Even Tacloban was initially inaccessible. In the days after the hurricane, Tacloban and other cities were looted due to relief supply delays. As roads and airports were cleared, relief workers and supplies slowly arrived. UN agencies, international assistance organizations, and many foreign governments assisted the Philippine government. U.S. Marines from Japan assisted with relief efforts. About a week after the hurricane, a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier arrived and utilized its helicopters to distribute supplies. Australia, Japan, South Korea, Indonesia, China, the United Arab Emirates, and the UK also provided relief after the disaster.